everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And I thought I would start the episode a little bit different this week, and I'm hoping this is going to be a section that we can develop.
Okay.
And you can write in if you want to. Contact us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of those kind of stuff, or maybe you can pitch this. I was thinking this might be a thing. So this week, we're opening with a thing that I'm going to call Ask Joy. So we're going to ask Joy a question.
Okay.
Now, this week's Ask Joy is my question, and I'm going to ask Joy. I think you might even be able to answer this because of the conversation we had before we came on air. But
okay.
This is my question to Joy. Joy, what is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Well, he's thinking Chipotle because I was eating Chipotle before we get there, but it's not. My favorite fast food restaurant is probably Chipotle's up there. I want to actually say it's Taco Bell. I'm a Taco Bell fan, mostly because you can get almost everything there vegetarian. Like anything that has meat, they can swap out for beans, so it's really easy. And I like Mexican food, which I know Taco Bell is Americanized Mexican food. Don't come for me, internet, but yeah, Taco Bell.
Yeah, I like Taco Bell. I haven't been there for a long time. And much like you, if you order on the app or if you go in the store and they have the screens that you touch, it's very easy to customize it and take the meat out of it if you're not into that.
Yeah, and like they even have like, would you like this vegetarian style? You just click it and it does it for you. So I like Taco Bell. Now, my favorite thing there is like they have potato tacos, which sounds really weird, but it's like this like fried potato. I'm not saying it's healthy, but I love it. And then I like any type of burrito, really, with beans. I'm not very picky.
Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. We got the answer we wanted. Everyone wanted to know what Joy's favorite fast food restaurant is, and the answer is Taco Bell.
Yes, there you go. Or do I need to think of a question for you next week, Tim?
Well, no, I was thinking this should be an Ask Joy section, and I think our listeners should write in and have questions prepared for you.
Don't ask me anything about geography because it will be wrong. We've established that that's not my strong suit.
Yeah, what continent is France in, Joy? I'm not sure.
Africa. No, I know it's in Europe, everyone. Gosh. But yeah, just be careful with the geography. It's probably not going to go well. Okay, that's kind of funny. I'm curious to see if we get any questions, what people ask now.
Well, there we are. Well, if you do have any questions, as I said, put them on Twitter or put them on the Facebook page, and Joy will answer your questions. Now, it doesn't have to be anything pressing like how do I solve world hunger? It could be something as simple as, I don't know, what's your favorite TV show from 1980 or something. It doesn't matter, but we put Joy on the spot and she will answer the questions.
Yeah, I feel very targeted. Tim's waiting to get some ridiculous answer out of me. I see what's happening now. Okay.
Okay, so before we get into the topic this week, we have some music news. Big music news. Now, by the time you listen to this episode, this music news will probably be about 3 or 4 weeks old. However, this is hot off the presses from yesterday. So I read it today, that Apple are stopped making the iPod. Did you hear this, Joy?
I didn't know that they were still making the iPod.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Nobody knew that they were still making the iPod.
Well, stop the presses, everyone. They're still making iPods. I think that's the bigger news, Tim, that they were still making them.
Yeah, they had one model, which is the iPod Touch, which is basically like a phone, but with no phone bit in it. And they've had the same model since like 2018 or something. They hadn't made any updates to it at all. And they decided to withdraw it from sale. So the iPod as a standalone item is now a relic of the past.
Did you own an iPod at one point, Tim?
I had several.
I did too. I had the iPod Nano when it first came out. One time I won at a basketball game. They were drawing for like the 80 gig, like the big one. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted it. I had my twin sister, I think, still holds a grudge over this. I didn't have any money to enter. I mean, I was like 15, 16. Brady had a few dollars. So she entered my name and her name. And I won. But the guy who was supposed to that they drawed his name first, he wasn't there. He had to leave or something. So they drew again. because he never came and got it. And then I won it. I remember that I won that. And then at one point I won an iPad too. I actually have a track record of winning prizes. I know most people was always like, I never win anything. No, I actually have a track record of winning stuff.
That's good. So was you a devotee to the iPod? Did you use it a lot, or did you load 3 songs to it and stick it in a drawer?
I was a devotee, but I was one of those ones who went in and found out how you could unlock the songs from iTunes because, they were very particular about your locking. So I could put whatever I wanted. I went in and I broke the system, Tim, so I could get on my, because remember how if you right click, you could unlock it and see everything that was on there and move your music around and stuff on the file explorer because they had it locked down. Mm-hmm. I was doing that so I could bring over my music that wasn't bought from iTunes onto my iPod.
Yeah, I had the classic. I had about 3 different models of the classic, and I had a couple of nanos, and I had a shuffle. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was well into that world. But as soon as you could put it on your phone, there was no real need to have a standalone music player.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say is I've thought about getting just a simple MP3 player to keep around for I don't know, if the power goes out and my phone dies. I thought about just keeping one around, but then I'm always kind of what's the point? At the same time, I wouldn't invest in an iPod though. I'd just buy the cheap, you know what I mean? A cheap MP3 player you could buy off of Amazon or something.
Yeah, you would need to get a SanDisk. They're probably the best basic MP3 player that you can get. Yeah,
they're the same ones who make the jump drives and stuff.
Yeah, and I think they're not. SanDisk is owned by somebody else now, but the brand is SanDisk, and I've actually had a couple of those, and they were very good.
Yeah, I think that I thought about it, but there's at the same time, like you said, it doesn't really seem like there's any point.
Exactly, especially now you have your phone with you all the time. But anyhow, that's the big music news of this week, and we are up to the minute in the world of music. I mean, 1 minute we're discussing music from 1973, and the next minute we're talking about the demise of the iPod. I mean, we are, boom, on the musical pulse.
I just like how the news isn't that they stopped making them. The news that they were still making them.
Yeah, I had to order some Apple stuff at work not so long ago, and I've clicked on the top tab at the top, and it said iPod, and I was like, really, they still make this?
I wonder. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it was a hot commodity. The only thing I could see is if you have a child that likes music who maybe is a little too young for a phone. You know what I mean? Maybe that.
Well, yeah, especially the iPod Touch is effectively the phone without the cellular piece. So you could give it to somebody who's in the house and it's the same experience as having a phone, but you don't have to pay the contract, etc.
Exactly. And I mean, everybody just chats on Facebook now and there's Wi-Fi texting and all that stuff. So, I mean.
Exactly.
There we go. We solved the mystery, Tim. We solved the mystery.
There we are. Well, farewell, iPod. It was fun. You came, you copied someone else's idea, and then you became really popular. And then you faded off into the distance.
Well, I feel like you should insert some funeral procession music there or something. Anyway, all right. So on to the topic. Unless you have any other cutting edge news I do not know about.
No, this is the only news I have this week. I believe that's the only news that's happened this week.
Only period. Nothing else has happened?
Nothing else has happened.
Or you're like me and there's too much that's happened and you just stopped looking because it's a train wreck. But anyway.
I mean, there is that. I can't even listen to NPR anymore. It's just too depressing and there's nothing I want to hear about. I have to listen to, what was it? The Bear, W105, wherever it is.
WVRE or VO whatever.
WRO something.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I can't look at the news right now. It's all too depressing. So on to more fun stuff. This episode's about the world ending.
Yay!
Yay! We're going to end it all, Tim, and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
So we did an episode a few episodes ago where Joy asked me my top 10 songs if a meteor or a meteorite was heading to the Earth, or something like that, some kind of calamity of that manner. And I had a lot of songs which I said I'd like to listen to as this mythical meteorite was coming into us. And it was such a big topic, we couldn't really go between us. So we decided that we would revisit it in a part 2. So this is part 2 of The Meteor is Coming. And now this time, Joy is going to tell me all the songs that she would listen to in the event of this kind of calamity about to hit the Earth.
So I just want to say that the songs I chose Not all of them are that deep. I'm going to start right there. But some of them are just fun, but they're in a specific order. So, like, if there was a meteor coming at me, this is the order I'd want to hear the things in. Okay, so that just keep that in perspective. So my first one is an obvious one, and I've talked about this song. I've got so many memories with every person I've ever known. I know the extended version of it. I don't know anyone who doesn't like Friends in Low Places. So for me, that one is one that I've been at a bar before and sang with my friends. When I was in high school, I sang it at the top of my, like, I have done everything with that song, Tim. So the reason is I would want to think of all those times, like if a meteor were coming in. So that would just bring on happy, the happy times. So get it right at the beginning. And there's still, I do have a story. There was this one night we were all hanging out, and we talked about it. It was Snapchat. And this song came on, and I will say that there was some Liquid Courage this is years ago. And it was me, two of my friend Molly, her husband Adam, my husband Charlie, and my roommate Bobby, who lives upstairs. My house is a duplex for anybody who needs to know that. I don't know why it matters, but it's not relevant to the story at all. But anyway, now you know. So anyway, this song came on. It was probably 1 a.m, and we all started singing it at the top of our lungs. We were having the time of our life. So there's people up here. Molly and Adam are on the couch swaying back and forth. I was standing in front of the TV doing circles like a ballerina while singing it. Charlie's Charlie and Bobby looked like they were trying to be Animal from Sesame Street, Muppets. Mm-hmm. And so, but we kind of didn't remember any of this because, like I said, Liquid Courage was playing out. But Adam, the person on the couch, he Snapchatted the whole thing. We didn't know he was doing it until the next morning. I woke up with a mild headache thinking what happened. And I go and look at Snapchat and I see it. And I was doing pirouettes down the living room, was singing Friends in Low Places top of my lungs. And then you see Charlie and Bobby over here looking like Animal. And then Molly and Adam are just swaying back and forth on the couch. And so it's memories like that I have with that song. That's why if a meteor or meteorite was flying at me, I would want to hear it.
Well, that's understandable. For me, that song reminds me of playing in my previous band. And I'd never heard of that song prior to playing in that band. But it was a song that we never actually practiced. It's one that we just winged at a gig once when somebody asked for it. And then it ended up being in the set. And
I can't imagine it's that complicated to play.
No, it's. You find a lot of that country music or older country music. It's very easy to play. The chord structures are very simple. There's more nuances to it, but in effect, it's pretty easy to play. And in the last band I was in, there was lots of songs that we would just wing on stage, and I'd never even heard them before. And the other guitarist, Kenny, would start it, and he knew it, and I'd just follow him, and it's well, this is not that hard.
C, hey. Basically, Tim's it's C, D, G. Okay, we got this. I got it.
Yeah, it's like that, and there's a turnaround where it goes to a B flat. It's fine. It's dead easy.
Anyway, so that would be my first one. Now, the second one is going to be weird, but it's Tenacious D tribute. And I have a theory on this one. So first of all, Tim is aware that my husband loves Tenacious D. He's a huge fan. Tim has told me he has seen them 3 times, correct? 3 times?
Yeah, I saw Tenacious D 3 times on 3 consecutive nights. I saw them in Brighton on one day. The next day I saw them at Hammersmith, and it was Hammersmith Odeon Apollo, and it was right up the top in the circle. Yeah. And then the next day I saw them was at the same venue, but I saw them down on the ground. And the reason is my wife Hannah is a huge Tenacious D fan. She'd never seen Tenacious D. They'd toured. They hadn't come anywhere near in Virginia where she was living at the time. So I decided that I was going to fix that for her on the first possible opportunity. And what a better way to do it than buy tickets for 3 consecutive nights.
So my husband is very jealous of that whole scenario. So tribute is the one that Charlie likes to turn on very loudly in our house and yell at the top of his lungs. So I imagine if there was a meteorite flying at my house, Charlie would probably be here. Just a theory. So this would be a fun one for us to turn on and just yell. And since he doesn't know the lyrics to very many songs, I at least know he'll know the lyrics to this one. So we will at least be able to, I won't be like, stop it. That's not the actual lyrics. It's so annoying because he does remakes of every song. he doesn't try to learn music at all. And like he'll start like the word will be the, and then like he'll start with the from the lyrics, and then he starts making up his own song lyrics, and usually it just becomes noise or humming or whistling at the top of his lungs. And I usually become rabid, and I'm like, stop doing that, you're driving me insane. So if I put this one on, it would be a very peaceful, like at least I know he'd know the lyrics and we could have fun and yell it.
Yeah,
that's my theory.
And this is a great song. I mean, the whole of that first Tenacious D album is good. I mean, you've got Tribute Wonder Boy. Now, that is an absolutely fantastic song. And then you've got Lee, and then you've got Blank Her Gently.
What is the secret of his powers?
Yeah. Go Wonder Boy. Yes.
Yeah, there's no, Charlie's obsessed with that entire first album. So if it were up to him, we'd probably just put that whole album on, and that's what he'd go out to. One right after the other, Tenacious D. Of course, he's starting to kind of look a little bit like Jack Black physically. I'm kind of convinced that he's manifesting into Jack Black. That's his goal.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Charlie in real life for some time, but I normally see him after we finish recording when he comes on the cam. And yes, I can agree that he's beginning to morph into Jack Black.
I think it's his goal. It's his man crush anyway. So now he just decided, I'm just going to morph into Jack Black.
Well, that's not such a bad thing. I will say though that the era of the D that comes from that first album is when they were touring just him and KG, it was just the power duo. The tour where I saw them 3 times, they was with a full band. And it was like the Pick of Destiny tour on the back of that film they made. Yeah. That wasn't very popular. I think it has a cult following now, but when it came out, it was a massive flop. And in fact, when I saw it in the cinema in Staines with Ian Husbands and Tony.
Oh, I would have known. Oh, I knew that Ian Husbands likes Tenacious D because he's talked about it before, but I didn't know you were with them. That's kind of cool. Speaking of which, I don't know if Tony listens, but I hope she's feeling better.
Yeah, I read that on the Facebooks. I do hope she is feeling better. I don't know if she's a listener, but we keep our fingers and toes crossed for a speedy recovery for Tony.
Yeah. So anyway, that would be that song. So we could just scream it at each other at the top of our lungs. And, who cares what the neighbors think? The world's ending in 10 minutes anyway.
Have you ever seen or heard the audiobook of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yes.
But have you seen that horrible Hollywood film, or have you seen the original TV show?
Both, and I've read the book.
Ah, right, okay. And you know the bit when they're in the pub and he's like, he orders those drinks. He said, "Keep the change from a $5, sir."
Sure. Yep. There's what's that famous line? Oh, I can't think of it. There's a famous quote about the world ending. I used to, when COVID, it's going to dawn on me. Whenever COVID hit, I put it like up on my status because it was too perfect. I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I digress.
No, I love it. There's very few books. I'm not somebody who reads a lot of books. I'm not really a book reader. I'm a music listener, really. Mm-hmm. But Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I've read it so many times. I've listened to the audiobook so many times. And the original 80s TV show, if you can find that, is absolutely superb.
Well, there you go, Tim. Our next podcast, if we decide to do something that's not music related, we'll just do a strictly Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy podcast.
I'm sure there probably is already one. It's called Don't Panic or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, like you said, it's got such a cult following now that I'm sure that probably exists. All right. The next song is more something sentimental. It is the song Tears of a Clown, Smokey Robinson. The reason that I picked that song is because growing up, I used to always hear, my grandmother would always say that song was about my father. And it's talking about, he's like the life of the party, but he really is sad on the inside. Mm-hmm. And I always love the lyrics of that song. And if you've never heard that song, it's beautiful. And it reminds me of my parents, and it reminds me of my grandmother growing up. So that would bring that sentimental thing into it if the world were ending. Plus, I really like the sound of his voice. It's just so good.
Oh, I mean, you cannot go wrong with Smokey Robinson. I mean, Smokey Robinson just has an amazing voice.
Really pretty eyes. Very pretty eyes.
And even now, I mean, like you see videos, I don't know how old Smokey Robinson is this, but he must be in his 80s or something like that.
I would think so.
But he still has that sparkle in his eyes. You're right.
He has very nice looking skin, and then like very blue kind of sparkly eyes. And when he sings, he has that old that old swinger style kind of thing going that I like, where they used to like, it's almost like they're telling you the story when they're singing. He's very much a storyteller with his singing, which I think goes really well with the Motown thing. So if you see him perform now, even now, he sounds fantastic. Like we said, he's got beautiful eyes, and he just like, it's like he's talking to you. And I love when someone can sing and it sounds like they're talking to you, but they're singing, because it means it's effortless. That's like Dolly Parton's a good example of somebody who does it on the female side, right? It's like they're really talented, but it's effortless. So it makes it sound really easy on the ear.
Yeah, do you know, I never really thought much of Smokey Robinson being a storyteller in his songs, but now you come to mention it, I can see exactly where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, and the way he stands on stage and the way he looks at the audience and like brings it out to, and so yeah, that's just him. And I would say like there's a few other people from Motown that probably fit that bill, but yeah, that's what I really like. So that song specifically would be one I'd want to hear. And if you've never listened to that song and paid attention to the lyrics, it's beautiful. It's a beautifully written song about somebody. And I always think, you know, like when Robin Williams died and things like that, it always comes out like the happiest people are sometimes the saddest on the inside. That's what the song's about. And he says it so poetically.
Did he write that song, or was it one that was written by the Motown people?
I think it's a collaboration. I think he collaborated. Most of those are like they were working together. He's like a name on the footbill, but I don't know if he wrote the whole thing.
Okay. No, I was just curious. I didn't know whether he was known as being a songwriter as well as being a performer. Oh,
yeah. No, he wrote quite a few songs, mostly lyrics. And then like I think he plays the piano. Pretty sure he does. Yeah. But yeah, he was, because like remember on the Motown episode where I said they like built the songs like you built a car? He was part of that kind of like production.
He was part of the process.
Yes. And if you've never heard that episode, go back. There's an episode called But I Did on Motown, and it talks very heavily about the really cool process that they did to come up with music. All right. So the next one, Tim, is going to be obvious why I picked it. It's CCR, Bad Moon Rising. Though every time I think of that song, I think that if there was ever a song that any movie that has been in every movie about Vietnam, it has to be Bad Moon Rising. That Unfortunate Son, right?
Yeah, I would agree. And, you know, for a lot of people, me included, CCR is an act which only continues to exist because of cover bands.
It's true.
Old Man Down the Road and...
Down on the Corner.
Green River.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like there's this magic list of songs that cover bands play, and there's like your UK cover band list and your US cover band list, and then there's like a Venn diagram where they meet in the middle.
Is CCR in the middle there?
And I think some of those songs are actually in it. But I mean, I don't know who decided that all these bands should play all these songs.
Because, I mean, who doesn't want to talk about being up around the bend? Have you ever seen the rain?
Exactly.
There's a green river. You're looking out the back door. Now the bad mood's coming.
You know, I wonder if
a whole movie.
Yeah, I wonder if they'd not made it onto these cover band set lists, whether these acts would have just faded off.
I don't know, Tim, but who will stop the raid? Okay, I'll be here all week. I mean, it's true. But I love CCR. Now, John Fogerty, however you say his name, his hair to this day kills me. Every time I see him, he is like one of the most unique looking guys in the world. Like he's very distinctly him, and he still looks the same. I don't know how to explain it. Now, he had a solo career for a while, right? Mm-hmm. What was that one song about baseball?
Oh, yeah, we spoke. It's off that Premonition album.
I never want to hear that song ever again. The reason is when I was at Kroger, when I was the HR manager at Kroger, that song came over the radio all the time, 3 times a day at least. And all I'd hear is like, how does it go? Oh, it's going to kill me. You know, it's about going out and playing baseball. Literally, that's what the song's about.
I know the song you mean, but I can't think of the name either.
I keep thinking Centerfold, but then my brain goes to the Jay Gillis band Centerfold, and that's completely different. Oh, that song though! Every time it comes on, I'm like, nope, turn it off. Never want to hear it again. Oh, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. That song. That's the one. And that's the line that I always hear. And like, it would be dead. And the thing about it is where my office was, I was in the back. And so it'd be dead silent. And for some reason, the music would be really loud above my head. And out of nowhere, I just hear, put me in, coach, like 4 times a day. That and the Who, I can go for miles, which I've already expressed. I never want to go again.
See, back when I worked in retail many years ago, I used to work for Superdrug, and Superdrug is like working for CVS or Walgreens for people who live in this country. And I had a Saturday job there and ended up working there full time, and ended up at the Superdrug in Richmond, and I utterly hated it, and I left. But that's beside the point. But at the very beginning of my tenure at Superdrug, they had copyright-free Muzak playing in there.
Was it like the Studio Singer 74 or something?
Well, it wasn't even like that. It was not even songs that you would recognize. It was just like
elevator music.
And it was terrible. And then after a while, because the machine in the office, I think it was either an 8-track machine or some variants of that, which was used especially for background music in shops like this. And the reason they did it, all these songs were supplied were completely copyright free, and you didn't have to worry about PRS licensing or anything like that. And you had this very unique system of playing it, so someone couldn't put a cassette tape in it and hijack it. Apart from when we used to work night shifts sometimes doing restocking, and then we had what we would do is we had a microphone where you could say blah, blah, blah to checkout number 2. So what we would do is we'd put like something heavy on the button and then have like a cassette player in there, and it would just blast all over the shop.
And then CCR would come blaring out of there.
Yeah. No. But after a while, because this loop was maybe 4 hours or 3 hours or how long it was, you got to know the songs. And after a while, you find it's going, oh, I like this one. This is the one that goes...
Tim wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat because that starts playing. Oh, God, where did it come from? But no, at Kroger, they have radio stations. There's like 4 radio stations that like every Kroger has, like nationally or whatever. And you can actually email them and ask them to change the radio station. I don't know how it works or how it's set up, But yeah, I remember, I won't say his name, but my store manager there, he had like 2 different channels that he liked that he would not let anybody else change it from those 2 channels. So yeah, but yeah, I was always that. And then that Paramore song, Misery Business, played all the time. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but it played a lot. And then, what is that stupid? You Light Up My Life. I never want to hear that again either. Because I know you know what I'm talking about, that You Light Up My Life. Who sings that?
I think it's one I've heard of.
It's fine. You've heard of it. It's one of those like really sappy kind of like dramatic female singers, and I cannot think of her name. And then Debbie Gibson would play occasionally.
Oh, let me tell you, you cannot go wrong with Debbie Gibson. I love Debbie Gibson. She's not quite in that Sheryl Crow level for me, but I tell you cannot go wrong with Electric Youth. And I will not have anyone else say bad things about Debbie Gibson. And during the lockdown, she used to dress up in like a stage dress and do all her makeup and hair and then put her dustbins out on the curb. I mean, and make a video about it. Absolutely fantastic. You cannot go wrong with Debbie Gibson.
She was living her best life.
Yeah.
Yeah, she played a lot, but yeah, it was that song I never want to hear again. All right, so now that I've gotten past the singing and I've accepted that this is happening, and I bumped my table, everybody, that was me. Just let it go. I'm not going to make Tim edit that out. It was my dramatic hand pause, and I've accepted that a bad mood is arising. I've accepted my fate. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to bring it back down. I'm going to listen to In the Middle of the Night by Billy Joel.
Well, it's Billy. I mean,
and you're in your moment. You're thinking about the world coming to an end, and then the gospel choir behind him just comes back in, hits it really hard. And he's just talking about, he's just walking in the middle of the night. He's just walking. But yeah, that is one of my favorite songs, by the way. I've talked heavily about my Billy Joel fan. That is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, I mean, many people in the Billy Joel catalog will pick out things like Piano Man, and we know that we've discussed this at length. That this is one of these Bohemian Rhapsody songs where you really never want to hear that ever again. But that's one that appears on, like, I've got the greatest hits compilation, the greatest hits 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 or whatever it was. It's the one with the grey cover, and that's on there. And there's lots of other songs on there that you would think would be in greatest hits, like Uptown Girl and things like that. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. But that song in particular is on there, and it's not one that you wouldn't think of as being an obvious Billy Joel hit.
It isn't. Now, he actually says he writes. Have you ever heard about how he writes his music?
Yeah, he says he typically channels another artist. So, like, there's famous one is Big Shot. Yep. He wrote that thinking about Mick Jagger, because, like, he went out to dinner with Mick Jagger, and Mick Jagger, as you know, is a quote-unquote ladies' man, and he had some young model who was in her 20s that he was with, and she was giving it the big, oh, blah, 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 I'm with Mick, and this is going to happen, and then we'll get on the jet, and then I'll buy a Prada bag, and then Billy Joel was like, oh, come on, Mick, what are you doing with this poor woman? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that's a really cool concept, but that also explains why all of his songs are kind of diverse, right? Like, he has a very, like, you know, we talk about, like, he does, like, the doo-wop thing sometimes. And then he does, like, this song, which I said has the gospel choir in the background. Or one of my other favorite songs is Keeping the Faith, which is that very 80s kind of play, you know, that was really popular at that time. So I could see so that probably is how he gets such diverse music. But this would be the moment that I'm accepting that the bad moon is rising and that there's a meteorite falling on my head, and I'm just going to channel in the middle of the night and, like, tune everything out and just sit there and listen to it. Because I do that when that song comes on. It is one of the few songs that I just want to hear in its entirety and sing it and, like, nothing else, because it's such a good song. Yeah, and as you say, it has that gospel choir on it. And maybe we should do a gospel choir episode, because there's so many great songs that have the gospel choir on them. And we've spoken about Man in the Mirror before, which has an amazing gospel choir accompaniment on it. But yeah, it's not obvious unless you know the song, but it's definitely in there, and it really does add to that song. Well, and if you've ever seen the music video, he's, like, in that kind of desolate area, and then you could see the people in the choir robes behind him, and then he's, like, playing the piano, and he's, like, walking through a river. You know, it's very, like, melancholy music video, but it also, even though it seems melancholy, because it has the gospel sound, makes it start to feel upbeat and promising, right? Like I don't know how to explain it. So it's like one of those songs that rise. So that would be where I would go with it. I want to fit. Now I'm going to take it a step more, because, like I said, I've accepted my fate, right, Tim? So next song plays right along with that. It's God Only Knows, the Beach Boys, because I'm at that place right now and I'm playing off of that. So also, I think God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan by any stretch. I like some of their music, right, Tim? But the song God Only Knows by the Beach Boys is a beautiful song. Now, is that song from Pet Sounds? It is. That's what I thought. Because, you know, people talk about Pet Sounds as it's this sort of proto Sgt. Pepper thing, and they revolutionized recording. And when the Beatles were recording Sgt. Pepper, they were listening to Pet Sounds. And I listened to Pet Sounds not that long ago. Yes, it's a good album. Yes, it has great songs, including this song, which is a really good song. But I didn't hear the same revolution that I hear when I listen to Sgt. Pepper. I'm kind of in the camp with you on that. Like, it's a good album, but I've never thought of it as the most groundbreaking album. And this is, like, my favorite song on it, honestly. And that's kind of like, because if you've never heard it, it's a very scaled back song. It's very simple and it's very pretty. But so I would just it's kind of peaceful, I think, is what I'm going for here. And I love the sound of it. I love hearing the raw voices. And you don't hear that a lot. It's different than the rest of the Beach Boys music, to me, at least. Yeah. And am I right in thinking it probably doesn't have full drums on it? It may have percussion on it, but I don't think it does. It's driven by that sort of harpsichord line. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it does. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, I don't think it's a mellotron. To me, it sounds like a harpsichord. That makes sense. I couldn't figure out what it was, but yeah, it's very distinct in that way. And so That, and ironically, I'm not religious, but if there's God, maybe he would know in this case. I don't know, but anyway. So that's where I would go with that. I would go from walking in the middle of the night to talking to God and see if he only knows, and then because I've just accepted it, and now I'm past the woe is me nonsense, and I'm just going to go straight into it's the end of the world as we know it by REM. Because who doesn't want to sing that one at the top of it? That's one of those songs that when it comes on, I sing at the top of my lungs.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned on a few episodes back, REM are like a band where I'm like a greatest hits fan.
Yeah.
And they've had some great music. They've had some really great music, but they're not somebody I was super into. And there's a lot of people who are super into REM. That kind of music was really their jam, as the kids would say.
Oh, what was it? We learned the word slay, Tim. Were you there for that?
Yeah.
Anyone is part of the free jam.
So let me explain for people who maybe don't listen to this. So our friend Ian Husbands and his wife Tony run a online YouTube channel. Obviously it's online, it's on YouTube, but it's like an online jam night called Radio Freak Jam. And it was set up at the beginning of the COVIDs because they couldn't play gigs in their pub where they do an open mic. So they moved the whole thing online. And this thing has been running since March 2020. And it still exists to this day. And Ian has kept it running, and he's had various variations of the shows. At one point, he had 3 shows or 4 shows a week, and he's, as demand dictated, he's scaled it back. So now we're at a point where people can go out and play gigs. They're out in their pub playing the gig they do every week on a Thursday, but he's kept the online thing going, which is really nice for the likes of me and Joy because we can't attend those in-person things. And as a result, it's grown to a bigger family of people who never, ever went to this pub, me included. I've been to that pub, but I've never...
Joy, too.
Yeah, and Joy. And then we have Sean down in Southampton. We have Pete Sipper, who's in New York. We had Max Hunt, who's in Germany. We have Nick Andrews up in Scotland. So all these people who've been somehow connected into this world came together for this online open mic night that still exists to this day. So anyhow, that's the background if you didn't know what that is. So Ian has been doing these Monday night shows, and he's been featuring various people who are part of this community. And one of the people who's involved with this is a guy called Wispy. And it was Wispy's daughter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and her friend.
Yeah, Wispy's daughter and Wispy's daughter's friend. Now, Wispy's daughter sings, and Wispy's daughter's friend, I can't remember her name. I wish I could remember. Neither. Was it Sid? Was it Sid or Sydney?
It was Sid. She went by Sid, but it was Sydney. You're right.
Yeah, and she I think she's like 12 or 13 or something. And I was
her guitar was really good.
Yeah, I was really astounded about how great her guitar player she was. Because I think back to when I was 13, where I was at that point. And she's using a capo. She's playing bar chords. It's clean. The rhythm's great. Really, really impressed.
And Wispy's daughter has a really marketable, nice sound to her voice. Like what's popular now. Do you know what I mean, Tim? It works really well.
100%. I think if they both stick at it, they're going to go places because it was really good. Mm-hmm. However, like I said, of the opinion, they're both great. And the guitar player, Sid, was a fabulous guitar player. That said, all of their friends were in the YouTube chat.
And all of us, and me included, because there was nobody else in that YouTube chat under the age of 30, right? Maybe if Sean was there, he might be under the age of 30.
I don't know. I just assume Sean is about 14. I assume he's older than that.
No, but I think he's like maybe 25. There was nobody near the age of these teenagers, and they just took over this chat, and the rest of us just went silent, right, Tim? Like we didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and the word that they were using was slay. Yeah, SLAY, not slay as in Santa sleigh. So it was like Sid is slay. That song is slay.
And then they were just like writing slay with a bunch of Y's over and over and over. It was just one right out. And then Ian is trying to, keep the banner alive with these people. And he's like, so I guess slay is the word now. The last time I thought about slay was when you were slaying a dragon, but okay. Did you hear him say that too?
Yeah, I did hear him say that.
And it was so funny because and then me and Jillian, who's a very avid listener of our show, we were riding back and forth, and Jillian's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I don't either.
I'm not really.
I've heard of it.
I'm not up with the kids, but I'd never heard that expression in the context of something being good, being slay.
Well, like you slayed it, like you killed it, is what it means. Like you slayed it, you killed it, so it's good.
But it just seems like an odd thing to say. That song is slay.
Well, Tim, I hate to say this, but you sounding like an old man.
Yeah, and you would be completely correct.
But yeah, that was the joke. That's why me and Tim started laughing when I said that slay. We're just going to have to start a segment where we're just going to go on Urban Dictionary, and I'm going to read a word out to Tim and go, what do you think it means?
Well, there we are. Maybe that could be a new section at the top of the show.
Well, that'll be after we do the Ask Joy a question. That will be the next segment. It's just asking Tim about Urban Dictionary words.
It's not uncommon that I have to look things up in the dictionary, if I'm being honest. I was like, it means that.
I've had to do it before too, though, so I don't know why I'm judging so hard. Anyway, so Tim, now that we've slayed, what the heck were we talking about before we brought this up? Oh, you said it was a jam, but what was a jam?
What was the song that you was discussing?
It's about REM.
Oh yeah, I was saying that it's not necessarily my jam, but it's other people's jam. But I was going to go on to say that I did get Automatic for the People recently and listened to it top to tail, and it is actually a really good album.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm not a huge REM fan, but there's like a few, maybe 4 or 5 songs I know pretty well. But I just like to sing It's the End of the World as We Know It because it's so fun and there's so many words. And, it's like one of my party tricks that I know all the words to it.
Yeah, it has a lot of words and it's very quick.
Yes. It's a fun one. And at that point, I've just accepted that the world's ending. So we're going to take that and we're just going to keep the energy up. And we're going to talk about a song that I've talked very heavily on this podcast that I love. And I would want to hear it as I go out. It would have to be Boney M's Rasputin. I have to hear it. I just have to hear it. There's no logical reason behind it. They're not even singing, Tim. They were lip singing it.
Well, but Boney M, the collective known as Boney M,
yeah.
I think, didn't we work out it's music that was created by a German record producer?
Mm-hmm.
And then the people singing on it are not the same people you would see on Top of the Pops. It's like a proto Milli Vanilli in a way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Where they had because that's exactly what Milli Vanilli did too. They had some producer who had people who were making music, and they just used them as the face. Exactly.
Rob and Raz were the singers of Milli Vanilli, the real singers.
Yeah. And I mean, but yeah, I don't know why I'd want to hear it. Probably because I love it, but I feel like it would make me happy. It's funny though, because this song has gotten a resurgence. It used to be, if I had told when I was younger, if I had said, Boney M, nobody would know like Ma Baker or even their version of what's the one they do that Sublime does a version of it too? Rivers of Babylon.
And Daddy Cool as well.
Daddy Cool, yep. Nobody would have known any of that. Like Boney M was a complete, but then they were doing those Just Dance games. I don't know if you know this, Tim, but they put a bunch of the Boney M's music on the Just Dance games. And Rasputin was a favorite one because you had to do like the Russian jump thing. Like it was designed to be like a little Russian dancing. Mm-hmm. And so it got a resurgence and now everybody knows Rasputin. But I think even maybe 15 years back, no one would have any clue.
The interesting thing about the song Rasputin, it's a great disco song and it's completely factually accurate.
It is.
It's a historical account. It's like that's how you want your history delivered in good time 70s disco fashion. It's
true. I mean, that's really how you could teach. See, actually, I was a nerd in high school and loved history. But if I wasn't, and I was, had my love for music, that would be how you'd want me to, that'd be how I want to learn it, right? I would never forget anything again if it was that being played to me in history. Though, to be fair, Waterloo is about historical stuff too.
That's true. And when when ABBA performed Waterloo on the Eurovision Song Contest, when they won the Eurovision Song Contest, Napoleon was the conductor of the orchestra. The guy came out dressed as Napoleon. It's true.
I mean, well, they're just sticking with the topic. I'm trying to think of, there's that one song. I'm sure there's plenty of other songs we could come up with that are about historical events, but I'm not really thinking of anything off the top of my head.
Well, we didn't start the fire by Billy Joel. That's like a whole series of historical events.
That one would have been a good one for the end of the world. Yeah. That would have been a good one. That's true. I didn't even think about that. And then you could have went like, we didn't start the fire, and then you could have just ended it with a ring of fire because, end of the world. All right. So we're going to so if I'm up here and I'm enjoying my Rasputin and dancing and just being silly, the next one I'm going to go to is Go Crazy, Prince.
Well, let's go crazy.
Let's go crazy. Sorry, I just wrote Go Crazy down on my notes, everybody. Don't come for me. But that would be next because, first of all, Prince, we can't forget. Oh, by the way, Tim, I bought a Prince shirt today, in case you were wondering. Got me a Purple Rain shirt today, so that was a good buy. Ah. But anyway, not because of this. I just happened to buy that before we did the podcast. But anyway, we couldn't forget Prince, but also, if the elevator tried to break us down, we're just going to go crazy, right? So, if in this moment I'm getting ready to die, there's a meteorite flying at my house, I'm probably just going to go. And I've already listened to It's the End of the World as We Know It. Then I went to Boney M. Well, then I'm just really going to go crazy and just go with Prince. That's my theory. And
I think you probably would want to go with Prince. The catalog is so huge, but this is a good time Prince song.
And I don't really want to party like it's 1999. That has a little bit too much context because of Y2K and the world ending. So this is kind of a good balance to keep my mind off the end of time.
Writing that song 1999 by Prince was very very forward thinking in the realm of royalties, because I think every disco and every millennium party everywhere and every radio station leading up to that was playing that song.
My mom still says it's one of the best. She still swears that's one of the best party hits that's ever been written since the beginning of time. And I think she's right on the money. Mm-hmm. It still works for a pretty bit. Yeah. So I don't think I'd go with that. So we're just going to go. We're going to just go crazy. Though I haven't gotten Raspberry Beret out of my head yet, Tim, since the other episode. And I still hold that against you because it's never leaving. I don't know why that song is in my head 24/7.
I can send you a piece of music which will clear it out, but sadly will replace it. And I don't know whether I want to do that because it would be like a curse if you hear it.
Maybe it's payback for that time I got your favorite one stuck in your head. Mickey.
And do you know what just came in my head was Wilson Phillips's Hold On. Oh. And I hadn't thought about that for a while, and it's now playing in my brain.
Oh, that's a good one, though. I love that. So I love Wilson Phillips. I feel like they're underrated as an artist.
Oh, yeah. They are fantastic. As a vocal group, they are amazing.
I just realized, though, all the songs I'm putting on this list are very long, actually lengthwise songs. Think about it. Boney M's a pretty long song. Mm-hmm. REM's pretty long. Now, Prince is a pretty long song. I hope I have enough time to hear all of these songs before the meteorite hits me. Because these are probably 4 or 5 minute long songs.
Well, I'm sure it'll be heavily covered in the news. You'll know exactly when the impact's going to be.
That's true. There's a Family Guy episode where they're it's an April Fool's joke. I don't know if you've seen it, Tim, where there's a meteorite and then and they're counting it down on the news. And then at the end, they just go, April Fools.
I think I've maybe seen one episode of Family Guy in my life.
Fair enough. I know you said sometimes Hannah, but yeah, that one's a funny one because it's honestly, that'd probably be better than some of the stuff the news does anyway. So maybe that's a better option. All right. So now that I've accepted my fate, Tim, we're on the last song. And there's a very distinct reason this is the last song. And this is the mood I'm going for to end it all, to just be done with it. I think it's probably going to surprise you. It's Under the Boardwalk by the Drifters. And the reason is because so in my mind, there's a special reason. So when I grew up, I used to go a lot to beach music concerts. My parents were big into Motown, but they were also big in that beach music scene with the local bands, like, like the Carolina Reaper, whatever the names of those bands were, Chairman of the Board, those things for people who don't know this, it's not, I guess is beach music an American thing, like the beach music cover bands?
Absolutely 100%. Isn't beach music that you would shag to?
Yes.
Now, let me tell you a funny story.
Okay.
I should say at the beginning that I knew exactly what the lady meant. I'm not completely green to this. But we were very early into my tenure of living here, I was playing a gig in the Princeton Moose Lodge in West Virginia.
Of course. It's always a moose lodge.
And an old lady came up to me as I was running the disco, which basically involved me playing songs off my iPod. But yeah, I was running the disco, and it was all like your Cupid shuffles and the electric slides and stuff. And she said, "Excuse me, can you give me some music that we can shag to?" And I said to her, "What do you want, Barry White?" Or
she was probably like, "No, sir. I was thinking more like
Luther. Well, I'll probably find you some Luther Vandross. Will that do?"
Marvin Gaye. Nice, Tim. So the reason, though, is so when I grew up, we would go to all these concerts, and I love music. I'm not like, and these are all local bands. So there's like this weird local scene. I think it's an East Coast thing with these sets of bands that do music like Under the Boardwalk, or like this kind of sound like that you hear on the beach, literally like music you hear on the beach, even though we're not anywhere near a beach. So we would go to these concerts all the time. And this was my favorite song that was always played at the concerts. And my theory is because it's like a very it's not melancholy, but it's mellow. Mm-hmm. And I could just zone out and pretend like I was under a boardwalk on the beach out by the sun, having fun, lyrics to the song, while the meteorite is flying at me. And then I could just zone out, and that would be how I would end it. It's like pretending like I'm actually on the beach and all those memories. But that specifically would be the one that I'd go to.
The only problem I have with this, and I understand where you're coming from in this very particular memory and how you're going to zone out listening to this.
Yeah.
However, I'd be hearing the Drifters doing this song, and the thing that's going in my brain is that there is a version of this by Bruce Willis.
Oh, God.
That would ruin the whole thing. Are you aware of that version?
I don't think so.
You're not.
What?
Are you not familiar with the album The Return of Bruno by Bruce Willis?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No. I feel like it's as terrible as it sounds.
Well, it's a straight cover with Bruce Willis singing it, and Bruce Willis sang and he played harmonica. And his version of Under the Boardwalk was actually a top 10 hit in the UK.
Okay, this must have been more. I don't think this hit the Americans, like the American charts, the way it did over there. Because that doesn't even sound familiar. Now, his daughter, I can't think of her last name. Something else. Bruce Willis's daughter is a really good singer. She was on The Masked Singer, and she won or came in second or third. And she was a lion, I think.
Okay.
And I mean, her voice is gorgeous. Like, I was convinced it was some superstar, and I had no idea she could sing.
Well,
wonderful.
And so there's nothing particularly wrong with Bruce Willis's voice, apart from he's not I think he performed in bands and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not Robert Plant or Freddie Mercury or something. It's just like it's Bruce Willis singing. But I'm just surprised you've never heard of his singing career, his album, The Return of Bruno, because he had a character called Bruno, and there is actually on YouTube a Spinal Tap style mockumentary about this character Bruno, and it's got everyone you could ever imagine in it, all saying how they were influenced by Bruno.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go give this a Goog because this is all very new to me. So, what other songs did he do?
I mean, I have the CD. I bought it used. I was very excited to find it. I want to know what other songs there are. Well, I tell you what, I don't normally click through stuff when we're doing a record, but I'm going to do it. Where are we?
It's usually Joy giving it a Goog when you hear the typing. I need to know because that's how we're going to end this. Because that's just now I can't end my playlist with that because now this is all I'm going to be thinking about. Tim, you ruined it. My End of the World playlist is officially ruined.
Well, that's what I was thinking. So. This is from 1986, The Return of Bruno, and you've got on here, he does a version of Respect Yourself, He does a version of Secret Agent Man.
Okay, I need to hear that. Continue.
He does Flirting with Disaster, and then, of course, Under the Boardwalk is the big hit. I think some of the other songs were original to the album, but I'm just surprised that this is not something you're aware of.
So random. That's like the most. I don't even think I knew if he was a musician. So you said he plays the harmonica?
I think he played harmonica and sang.
Huh. Well, that's complete news to me. Well, with that bombshell right at the end, no, never heard of it. I had no clue. But now I'll have to figure out another song because after I hear his version, you're right. That's probably what I'll always be thinking about forever. Thanks, Tim, for that. Appreciate that.
See, that would be me. I'd be like, oh, I'm just thinking of the Bruce Willis version. That's what's coming to my head.
Tim would be like, okay, Meteor, all right, you can take me. I can't get it out of my head anyway. Fine. Well, with that is my top 10 songs I would listen to if the world were ending. Though I don't know that mine had as much sentimental value as Tim's. It was more of me just like, no, I like the song, so that's what I want to hear.
Well, you don't have to it's your list, Joy. You don't really have to justify it. It's whatever you want.
I might have to go back and make a playlist for both of our episodes, Tim, and put it on the spot. Do like what I did with the one episode with the YouTube. Mm-hmm. Make us a YouTube playlist for both of our End of the Worlds.
There we are. And you'll be closing out with Bruce Willis's version of Under the Boardwalk.
Yes, I will. I'll just throw that in there just for the heck of it.
Marvelous. All right, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.